Ready, ladies? Okay, very good. Good evening and welcome to the Duluth Community Services District regular meeting of the Board of Directors on today's date, May 22nd, 2024. This meeting is now called to order. We'll begin with our roll call. Mr. Bowman.
Here.
Carol.
Here.
D'Alessandri.
Present.
Rawson.
Here.
Roberts. Here. And if everybody will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, who tricked us? Is that what's going on? Okay, all righty. Before we delve into the agenda, I do want to introduce an individual here that's in place of Ward Simmons today, and that is Holland Stewart, who is with BB&K. Thank you very much for filling in for Ward today. We appreciate it. Can you want to say a couple little things about yourself?
Sure. I have been with the firm since I was an intern in law school. So been for a long time. I do mostly represent water districts and community service districts, mostly in Riverside and San Diego County. I have a 5-year-old who is starting to climb the bed with me, and as I was just sharing. Yeah, happy to be here.
Okay, well, very good. Hope to see you again.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All righty, we were gonna go, let's see, Cyrus, we're still waiting for him, or should we go ahead and? Oh, there he is. Hi, how are you?
Good evening. Yeah, I was just waiting for you to hear my name get called.
All righty, I'm glad to see you, and we'll turn it over to you right now.
Oh, good. I go first. And I just gotta start off to say I'm thrilled to see Holland there. You're in good hands for tonight. Good to see you, Holland.
Good to see you too.
So sorry, there might be a little background noise. We have a legislative conference going on in Sacramento. It's kind of a busy time right now, so hopefully you're not getting too much background noise. But I wanted to jump in and kind of brief you on where we are in this process. And there's kind of two things going on. One is this issue with the gas tax. We are proceeding ahead. Senator Sarto has agreed to kind of help facilitate our entree and our contact and our negotiations with Riverside County. And so that's going to take us in one of two directions. One, we may see the need for legislation, or there is still that possibility that if things can be worked out well, we may not need legislation at all. But either way, we are proceeding ahead. We have, so the process, if we want to do legislation, I think I mentioned this once before, there is an opportunity to take over other bills that have stalled in the process if necessary. And we have maybe another month for that option. So that's it. Kind of like we're just kind of waiting to see how things go. But like I said, if Senator Sarto is effective and this goes well, who knows? Maybe we can solve this without a bill. But we are proceeding ahead that really as we speak. Second issue we're working on is also we are putting together a community event. It's centered around Senator Sarto to say, hey, thanks, get to know the community. Thanks for doing the bill on the organic waste version. And we are building it around his schedule, but we will be inviting other people. So hopefully it will be a robust community event this summer at some point. So those are the two activities we have on the table right now.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Let me comment on that second one. We do have a date. So we are confirmed for Wednesday, July the 31st.
Oh, we are. We're confirmed.
Yes. I just got the info this morning. So anyhow, so we're good to go. And it's going to be a co-sponsor community gathering with the CSD along with the Duluth Women's Club. And
outstanding. Okay.
Yes. And so probably in early June, Jim and I are going to sit down and start fleshing out a few things. So obviously the senator is going to be there and take a look at a list of other individuals we'd like to hopefully include in that event and just lay out an agenda tentative and so forth. But we are good to go, and that would be at Todd and Chris Close's beautiful barn, which is right off of Sandia Creek up in Duluth. So anyhow, okay? We have a time?
That is outstanding. With that confirmation, I can go ahead and start trying to lock in others that we hope to include.
Very good. The time likely will be 6 o'clock, similar to what we did with the last one, which was back in February of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, so it gives people enough time if they're working and whatever to get there and so on. So anyhow, okay, very good.
That is
Questions?
outstanding. Okay, that is my report.
All righty, very good. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Always happy to be here. Thank you.
Take care. All righty, well, we'll get back into the agenda here. So agenda item B, our sheriff's report. Good evening. How are
Good
you
evening.
doing?
I am good.
Good.
It's been a long time.
Yes, it has been.
Almost didn't happen with the Eric Trump in town.
Oh, yes, you're here. Uh-oh.
No, it's a long process when any
Sure.
major personality comes to town.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we didn't have to mobilize as greatly as we anticipated. But
But you were prepared.
yes,
Okay.
that's the goal.
Okay, very good. Oh, wow.
So we had about 2 months, so I whittled it down to like the most important calls, notable calls. There are way more than this. I didn't put alarms and suspicious noises, cats howling, things like that. So we have, the HMS, that was, marijuana grow on Buena Vista and Camacho. It was about 400 plants, and initially, I'd already known about it, and I'd seen it, and I cut the water lines, and I was hoping it would just go away, but it flourished, so I go in and actually chop it down. So they use the marijuana eradication team got rid of it. AOD at Vista Del Mar and Camacho, initially, I located a squatter, and I couldn't really get a hold of the property owner initially. Once we were able to get a hold of the property owner and get a no trespass, then we had them leave. Unfortunately, they just scooted down the roads and went to another property, and that brings us to this, where they were given permission. So they're kind of like vampires, and once you invite them in, then they have to, you have a legal process. So don't let anybody stay on your property unless you want to live it. Or go through the eviction process.
Right.
So we started applying the pressure, and I was able to, we were able to push that individual out of the lose entirely. The next one, there was a fire, an RV fire, which goes back to code enforcement. These individuals were living in an RV for an extended period of time, not building a home. They were given permission to stay there, and the RVs running off like extension cords are not good. So it was contained just to the vehicle itself, and it was extinguished very quickly. Next one would be unauthorized shooting. We responded. We're not able to pin down where it was. There's lots of finger pointing, and you're doing it, you're doing it, you're doing it. Went to all the locations, and it didn't have any verifiable proof. But it was also when Camp Pendleton was really going at it,
Oh,
and they were hammering for a little bit there. Next one is unfortunately there's an unattended death. We went up there, and with that, nothing suspicious involved. Only for the last 2 months, I've only had one report of mail theft, unless they're reporting somewhere else. I don't know of any mail theft as of right now. That's the only call I have. And then finally, this one never even originated in Duluth. It just ended in Duluth. It started in Lake Elsinore. Wanted felon took us on a chase up through Tanaha, La Cresta Tanaha, all the way into here. We were set up ready to spike him. He started heading towards San Diego County, Fallbrook, and he spun out, crashed, and put pursuit, and he was hiding, but can't hide from fellow injured. And then finally, developments, so all the district's equipment has been marked with now in. I responded to 8 different locations with code enforcement, to address, unpermitted and illegal grading, building, structures, growing, what have you. In communication with CAL FIRE, reference the evacuation signage. And then I have completed and certified on our radar. And, we can go that, we can start doing traffic enforcement with that tool. And then, I contacted the California Fish and Wildlife. And, they have found steelhead in San Diego Creek.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So that's a very good thing for the community, because those fry cannot live in polluted water. They do not do well with anything, with any pollutants. So they have made it to San Diego Creek, confirmed through Fish and Wildlife. The last thing, I didn't put it on there, but you may not start seeing me during the day, because I'm gonna start adjusting my hours. As it gets warmer, we have more and more younger people coming in. And I've already seen signs of them, racing and zipping around balloons. So I will adjust my schedules, so I will be here later in the evening,
Okay.
not during the day when I'm not needed.
Just one suggestion, if you could add dates to that list that you had,
Dates,
that would be somewhat helpful to me anyway. The other thing is, last night I saw, must be 25 cars up at the top of not San Diego Creek, Avenida Del Oro, Central California, in that area where there's an open space, and it looked like they were very young people there. Are you aware of that and what was going
that would
on?
be the street racing that I'm gonna begin to address. So if you go down any cul-de-sac, you can see where they're doing burnouts. And they're doing drifting. So that's what's occurring there.
Okay,
They have souped up high power cars. And their derby roads are super fun. If it's closed track, but it's not closed track, it's a road where people drive. So I'm gonna reach out to CFT. And then our street racing team and see if they can assist in that. So CHP is gonna be the authority. So if we have a street racing event or a takeover or anything like that. What happens is the vehicle code gets opened up to the modification you've done to your vehicle. So you start messing with exhaust intake, nitrous, anything like that, then, and I don't have that training. CHP has that training, and it's very specific things.
sure.
Once you get that, you do that, then it opens up a whole another set of vehicle code. And then we take their car until they go to a referee. So it's much like a judge, but then they'll go through the vehicle with a fine tooth comb, and then there's some things that they just cannot correct. And they don't get their car. Again. So,
You do that with tinting too? No.
no.
You do anything with tinting? What's that?
It's a ticket.
Just a ticket.
Never seen anybody get a ticket for tinting.
We do it. But I mean, it's a weird time right now with the legislation and how they hold people accountable. It's difficult to keep people in jail.
Right.
I can keep putting them in jail all day long. And it's a sad joke that we live by now of, I will do a life sentence, one booking at a time.
Goodness.
Well,
We hear you.
with the current state of affairs, when
Yes,
it's a misdemeanor to be in possession of heroin, methamphetamine, fentanyl. It's a ticket, you get a ticket, and I look, and then they go through the process, and then they just clean the door and get back out with their constable here. But for tinting, no, we don't, not really. the citation. Here's your promise to appear.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions?
I just have one. Is there any area we need to look out for the street racing up here? Like, is it
No, it's, as it gets warmer, it's gonna be all the cul-de-sacs.
all the cul-de-sacs? Okay.
It's gonna be the cul-de-sacs, and there's one off of Crumley, that one has been active.
Yeah.
There's a couple others that are active. We're working with property owners and to work with them on what they can do and how they can assist me, but it's difficult at night. About the only thing that's gonna prevent that is me being up here or law enforcement being up here. And it's just, gotta be in the right place at the right time. To catch them.
Okay.
And even then, it will still prove difficult when they have a souped up race car. And I'm in a patrol unit.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna risk my life and anybody else's life trying to catch this person for exhibition of driving. But that's where we're at, and if we're up here, they'll find somewhere else to go.
Very good.
Thank you.
This is good news about working PM because every year when things heat up, then Sam would do what you were doing.
Right.
And you.
No, it's just what's,
Proactive, we nip it in the bud now because it works.
Right, so as soon as,
Out there.
as soon as it heats up and then, I've already, talked with man, at the station. And, just to be safe, they have, some county hours to burn. And they're gonna bring another deputy up with me, at no charge. It's just while you're working at night, the stakes are raised and I don't know who I'm dealing with. And my backup is now 30 minutes away. So it's just easier with two people contacting, dealing with people, contacting them. And we already talked about that in like logistics, where it's not gonna be charged to you guys at all.
Great.
It's just. It's a need and I see a problem, so we're gonna throw resources at them.
Okay, that's good.
Which also brings up that issue we talked about earlier, a couple months ago about cell phone coverage. If there was any way that the sheriff could,
It's gonna be through emergency services, so through fire. I'm in talks with fire. That's one of the things with the signage. Is to make sure the emergency broadcast system and message goes out. That's where they would come in and be like, hey, Verizon, whoever, AT&T, we would like a tower. Do you want to put a tower? And then they'll identify a location where they can find one and put one. So that's gonna be through the fire side because they're whenever there's a major incident, there's unity of command, but fire is ultimately in charge. So we'll go through fire and talk to them about that on if we can get somebody to get a tower in one of the peaks.
and are we still on track with that training for people with farm animals in case of fire and getting access to your animals?
Yes, so that, I think that was July, we're going to try to go live.
Okay.
I think that's the last word I had on that.
Mhm.
So it's not a simple thing. I mean, it goes all the way to Sacramento. And then it comes back down with revisions and this and different things they want us to do. And then we also have to include fire in this because they have to put on the training ultimately.
Right,
And that's been the holdup is getting the training done,
right.
getting then the curriculum developed. So the last I heard was it was gonna be July.
Okay.
But it's subject to change. It's pretty fluid at this point, but they're very close to finalizing that. Because there was a few laws that were passed that muddied the waters for just like. They were like, well, beekeepers don't count. Well, they do count. It is an agricultural business. They have permission through the owner to put the bees there. If they don't, they shouldn't be doing anything. And all their locations have to be registered with the agricultural commissioner. If they're doing everything on the up. So then they do qualify, and they're like, oh, okay, so then they had to rework some words and some verbiage, so I think that's all set. And they're just finalizing that.
We should, Jim, we should make sure we keep up on this, especially with the meeting at the end of July. You know, because it's definitely some positive things for the community to be aware of, so.
Yeah, no, we have a whole big packet that we're working on. And then once I have something more finite. I mean, the yellow's in the refrigerator right now, it's solidifying, but it's still pretty jiggly.
Okay.
I don't want to give you something that's not totally ready to go. I'd rather wait for a little bit and make sure that things that have aligned and things are more solid.
No, definitely.
Before we start going in any direction, but as soon as that is live, I'll let you guys know.
Okay, great,
It's good.
good info.
Quick question for you. In the event that, one of the residents were to capture some video of the, street racing or other events, are you able to use that for enforcement?
Yes, and first rule of evidence is everything's evidence until the court says it's not evidence. So yes, it would, I can never have too much evidence. Even if it's overwhelming for me, then I'll have another person.
Okay, I don't
Okay.
need CPR.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what skills right now. So even if there's so much and I'm inundated, I'll just bring in more people to help me mine that.
Yeah.
That would be the only limitation is my ability to mine that.
Yeah. It's unlikely that anyone could contact you in time to actually get there and do anything, but it might.
No, I mean,
Video.
our greatest asset for all that is our helicopter, to be honest.
Yeah.
We try not to even pursue anything. And that pursuit that I spoke of, that came from El Sonora.
Mhm.
He was in a Mustang and he was just tearing up the roads super fast. They broke away before they even got to La Cresta. We did break away and our helicopter just followed. He drove around, got lost, went down a bunch of dead ends. And they just slowly wormed their way up the roads and when they're able to re-engage and chased him and he got away again and just followed him again. Until he lost control and then we swooped in. Nice.
They got a good picture of him in the paper.
Yeah, so that was only about 100 yards from his farm.
Yeah, he didn't look that big.
So it's hard for us to, so we have resources and obviously having somebody up here to block off avenue of escape is beneficial, but that's our hardest part is setting up a perimeter in time to catch somebody. That's the hardest thing. They'll just keep going and hide in bushes. And then you can't hide from our helicopters.
No.
We actually ended up using San Diego's Astrid 9. So our helicopter ran out of fuel and had to go refuel, and San Diego's helicopter came up and assisted us. And then all equipped with forward-looking infrared, which you're not gonna hide from. You gotta be in a building. And they can see a whole lot in there.
All right, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Good report, thank you. Moving on, Isabel, we comments for this evening, none. Okay, we've already taken care of the legislative topics with Cyrus. So let's keep moving on. Item E, information. Let's see, the following items are intended for information purposes only, and that includes the financial statements, statement of investment policy. Objectors, any comments or questions? None? Okay, then we'll go ahead and move on. F, consent calendars, and it includes the following 4 items: minutes of the March 20th, 2024 regular board meeting. Second, general fund claims for both March and April 2024. 3, sheriff special tax claims, again for March and April 2024. And hallelujah, we had some purchase orders for once. And they include 24-01, 24-02, and 24-03. Directors, any questions?
No.
Is there a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Bowman?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
D'Alessandri?
Hi,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I was gonna say, man, did I lose my hearing? Rawson?
Hi.
Roberts, aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you, everyone. Let's see. Okay. All righty, next area for conversation is going to be financial matters. This is going to be the fiscal year budget 2024 through 2025. G, review proposed budget and benefit fees. Fiscal year 2024-2025. Jim, Teresa,
Well,
Jim first.
It's that time of year again.
Certainly
You've
is.
seen these items, on, every May and June agenda. So we're repeating that process as required by law. First is, for you to ultimately adopt a budget. We're not doing that this time. The proposed budget, and the benefit fees have been reviewed with the finance committee. And, at the last finance meeting, the committee okayed moving forward, put it on your agenda and share it with the whole board. This does not mean that the budget is approved, you'll be voting on it.
Right.
But this is the time to ask any questions or whatever, and now you have 30 days to think about it, okay?
Okay,
There will be a public hearing where the public can comment on the budget, as well as the taxes and fees that accompany that. It will be at the June meeting. I'd also like to note, it came up, the president was in an office on Monday, and sheriff had sent over their contracts, for renewal July 1st. And it takes so long to get it through the county board of supervisors, because not only do you have to approve it, they have to approve it signed. So the president and myself, as the secretary, signed the contracts. So we can report that we've renewed the sheriff's service for next year. But that will give them time, 2 months to get it to the board, and we'll have you vote on it at the June meeting. So anyway, we'll just put it in the record that we renewed pending for both boards' actions, so. Teresa, our finance manager, is prepared to make a presentation regarding the budget, which is the proposed budget, which is set forth in your packet, and you could follow along and ask any questions you may have.
Well, we'll start by the most, in a nutshell, document is the very first one, the revenue and expense summary draft. And we basically, we have the same revenue that we always have, so we've seen all these items before. The only thing of note in the revenue side is now that we have 5 treasury bills being invested, at $2.5 million. So that's going to get us about 130,000 in interest, additional interest. And we've talked about it before, and with the finance committee, we're going to be using 100,000 of that to start paying down our UAL, our CalPERS liability. That's at like $1.3 million. So with that being said, that's kind of how we're offsetting those two things. The other thing is you can still see we have obligations, FEMA obligations for Sandia Creek. That's still in the works. Last was, Pechanga Indians want to come out and look at everything and give their blessing. So they're still going back and forth with that. So I do think we will eventually get that.
okay.
And then, so you can see where all our areas of expense are, down there. And the next 2 pages following that are just breaking down these items. You'll see them all broken down, line item by line item. So, you can see what our annualized, for this, the 23, 22, 23, or 23, 24 is, and we were a little over budget. So then I've got the projected budget on the very first two columns. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you folks have on any of these line items, and if I don't have the answer, I will certainly get it to you by our next meeting. So I'm open for any questions y'all have.
If there's any questions?
We will be passing a resolution
Yes,
regarding the 100,000 going to
yeah, good
the
point.
unfunded liability.
Right.
So that, although it's in the budget, obviously the budget hasn't been approved, and the resolution will be required. We'll be bringing that to you next board meeting.
No, I don't have any questions right now, but if we would look at it and have a question,
Oh, yeah.
just address it later.
But we'll be discussing it actually at the next board meeting.
Okay.
So you have time to look at this, and then if you have questions, you can talk about it next board meeting.
Thank you, Bob.
So if there are any questions during the month or whatever, they come up also at committee meetings, engineering, we want to look a little more closely at some of the maybe road maintenance issues or whatever. That's why we do it a month early, so there's time. And it avoids having to sit here for the next 2 hours going through.
Yeah.
item by item. So, we're happy to do that, but we can't do that at the next meeting, if the public has questions or whatever. But, this has kind of been the process that Toulouse uses for years. The board always wanted it early, so.
Thank you, Teresa.
No,
Thank you. Okay, so that leads us into agenda item H. Jen, this is the introduction and first reading of the ordinance, number 24-01.
Yeah. So, an ordinance, as you know, takes, 2 readings. So we have a special tax, which is truly a tax imposed by the people of Toulouse years ago. I think the last time they raised it was in 98. And then shortly thereafter, it was frozen by Prop 218. So the amount collected is the same year after year. So this ordinance readopts, and well, it basically you're reimposing it on the property tax bills. And also adopting the written report, which ties to the road fees that the district levies. And that's called a benefit assessment. And the written report is also in your packet and will be here at that next meeting too. And where we will conduct a public hearing on this ordinance and on the budget and on the written reports. So tonight, it would be appropriate to introduce the ordinance, which this year is ordinance 24-01, adopting the special tax rate, sheriff special tax rate, and the written reports, and calling for a public hearing at your June regular. So the appropriate motion would be, I move that ordinance 2401 be introduced by title only, that further reading be waived, and that ordinance number 2401 be passed to second reading.
He's got it right. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Okay.
And do we have a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, Bowman.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
D'Alessandro.
Aye.
Rawson.
Aye.
Roberts, unanimously approved. Thank you.
Then we're going to do something similar
Yeah.
for the budget, which was publicly called for a public hearing. And we also published notice in the newspaper. I believe it's the Press Enterprise. Very expensive, that nobody reads. But anyway, the first item would be to adopt resolution 2403. By title only, the further reading be waived, and the resolution 2403, setting the hearing for next year's budget be.
Motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, second.
And a second.
All in favor, Bowman. Carol.
Aye.
Delasanty. Rawson.
Aye.
Roberts, unanimously approved.
Item J similarly is the adoption of resolution 24-4, which sets the public hearing on the written report for the benefit fees related to roadway maintenance. So that the motion is to move that resolution 24-4 be introduced by title only, the further reading be waived, and the resolution 24-4 be.
Motion to approve. Second,
Second.
all in favor, Bowman.
Aye.
Carol.
Aye.
Delasanty. Rawson.
Aye.
Roberts, unanimously approved. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Moving smartly here with the agenda. Okay, roadway rehabilitation. Ron.
Hi, everyone.
Good evening.
All right, we know there are a couple of spring problems we are facing. One of them, which is over this one. Spring water on Crunch Road. Location is approximately 1 mile east of Cynthia Creek and in front of lot number 25525. And some description is over there where what we saw initially, and basically this is what it is. Observe spring water oozing throughout the street surface causing series of potholes, undulating surface sections with the possibility of pavement for those sections. Summary office received several complaints in past and present from residents and concerns from board members for unsafe travel. Roadway section observed situated undulating series of potholes fixed on both east and westbound lanes, which kept on failing, suggesting rough, unsafe, reliable condition for riders. Next slide, please. So this is one of the pictures where water is seen oozing out from the surface of the road. And the lot number which I was referring is basically address lot number 25525. Next slide, please. This is on the downhill side, the view, where you see undulating or pumping surface. And you will see in the middle, water is oozing out everywhere. Next slide, please. These are what we did initially. You see on your right hand side, or last photo where you see big potholes. We filled them with aggregate with whatever was available with them in the yard, but still it keeps on revealing and it never got fixed problem. And on the very first photograph, we did some patching with cold patch or cold asphalt, which also did not hold too long. Next slide, please. Okay, there were some complaints that they were riding in one lane. And people were also coming from up the hill, and they were going up the hill almost in the same lane. So we went there and inspected, and we saw this vegetation covering, which was like almost like 5 feet inside the lane. And so we removed it. First we tried with a hand, but it was too much. Then we got that skid loader and we pushed it on the shoulder side. Next slide, please. This is one of the things which we did where water was oozing out on the hillside. We excavated a swale. So water can be trapped in there instead of flowing down onto the road. So to catch that water and it flows on the shoulder side, that's what we tried something over there. Next slide. You see, basically in the very first picture, we got some sandbags to keep the water on one side, and you see some water is also flowing down on the shoulder region. Next slide. This is basically, since there was a concrete pavement or driveway, we could not dig anything on the shoulder side, so we asked the owner to help us out. basically he helped us out, he saw cut it. The second picture you see there's a blue line which is going across, we saw cut it in the driveway, so the water can go through. But still it didn't help us, we washed it almost like 2 weeks. It was no help, so too much water to handle. Next slide. Okay, this is where we started our work. And after several weeks of brainstorming, we came up with some idea. And I will show you what we did. Next slide, please. When we were there and doing our work, one of the guys, I think he was a contractor or he was a grower, he came and stopped and spoke to us. And we spoke about all this oozing water. He said, "This is not first time. This is being here, like, when the roads were not even built. And the water used to flow from one side, from hillside to the creek, which is on the other side. And they built the road, but still it didn't solve the problem. And so basically we knew that the water was coming from hillside, not from the trail where the stream was, not from the stream side. So we had a pretty good idea that, all right, let's start excavating towards the hillside and try to contain that water on hillside only, not to let the water flow on both the sides. And when we asked for, or when we went for USA together, the water guy came, and I spoke to him. He said that you guys have done something over here before. I said, when we did, he said he doesn't know, but you guys did some French drains over here. That was a long time back, and we have no clue what we did. So basically, I'll come to the next picture, please. Okay, when we started excavating the trench, you see how much water is trapped over there and how much water is flowing, which was going into the road. That was basically the whole water which used to go to the roadway pavement and keeps on losing up because it was not crossing over. And we had to pump some water. Wherever we stopped, water used to come and fill it up, and we had to pump. Next slide, please. All right, this is the root barrier, which is 30 inch tall or height-wise. And it's a neoprene pad, you can call it water barrier also. So we placed it on the shoulder side of the roadway, so the water doesn't come and get into the roadway section. To stay in one location, and the water should go down the hill. So we placed this barrier, water barrier, on the side of the road, which we excavated. And you will see it. The next slide, please. You see over there, there's a barrier on one side, which is against the roadside. And then we got the French drain, which is laid into the filter fabric. And then we got the clean coverage rock, so the water can flow through. Next slide, please. This is how it looks after filling up. And the last slide, which you see at the corner, is we backfilled it. And before we backfilled it, picture is not there, but we put the filter fabric on top of it, between the dirt and the rock. So it is a filter fabric cover. All right, next slide, please. Okay. What you see in the first one is the end section of the French drain, where the water is coming out. And it is coming out today also. You can see it, water is flowing very well. You see the yellow direction, the second picture? This is basically the shoulder section where we let the water to flow through zone, because it was away from the road. And all these yellow lines are showing how the water is going down on Karancha to the crossing where the culvert is. Second slide. All right. what I showed you was up the hill. Now we come to the down the hill. Okay, so up the hill lane was there, then down the hill lane. So down the hill lane, you see that there's an embankment on one side. And now I'm coming back to that Edison guy who told us there's a French drain which somehow we don't have record of it, was built by us. So we found that French drain, which was crossing from one into another one in front of the hydrant. There's a hydrant up over there. Somehow we've also found there was a V-ditch built on the downhill side. And all the water was coming from one side to that V-ditch. And that V-ditch was also flowing continuously, but somehow the water was escaping down and coming back into the road surface. So we were excavating over there, so we thought, okay, well, let's see how much water is trapped and what is the problem. Just excavate that area. So the guy is excavating over there. Next slide, please. This is the final product after excavation. Very first picture, you see how much water is there. This water was almost like whole night. It just was flowing very good. In the morning, it just dried out. So all the trapped water which was there was flowed. And then we connected, there were two French drains over there. So we just sleeved it and we put a bigger pipe up over there in the back over there, the collector pipe, which takes all the water to the creek. Next slide, please. This is how we backfilled that embankment. The first thing, we just backfilled with the 3/4 inch rock. Then we covered it with the fabric, the black one. And then we backfilled to the grade and line with the existing flow which was what we excavated. All right, next slide, please. Okay, now that diversion of water is all done. Now we have to fix the street. The street was not done. All right, so next slide, please. This is what we did. We grinded whatever we could grind because after grinding each inch and a half, we found dirt. There was no base. There was nothing there. So we just grinded out 1 inch only and paid whatever we could match against the existing surface. So in the first picture you see it's done in sections. The top section is already done. The one which is going down where the truck is has been grinded out. And the second picture you were seeing is he's putting the tack coat on the downhill side lane. Next slide, please. Okay, all right, here, the very first picture you see there is putting the curve. Putting the curve so no water or no dirt comes back onto the road. Where we did our French drain. The French drain is behind the curve. And we place that berm over there. And in the second picture, you see he's paving. Next slide, please. This is one of the view of how the paving is done. He's compacting it over there, far end and paving. Next slide. This is interesting. Our crew did it. Basically, we did striping after everything was done. What is that green and red sign on top? Okay, layout of median and shoulder lanes being cat-tracked. Cat-track means they're laying out where the traffic will go. So in the median is a yellow one and the shoulder is white. Next slide. This is the kind of final view of our shoulder lane, which we did. And after spraying glass bead, which shines at night. Next slide, please. This is our crew placing RPMs in the median section. Next slide. This is the final view, how it looks over there. All right, next slide. This is the second location where we found, or we got complaints that the road is not good, it's not drivable, or I could say, when I went there, there were a lot of undulating surface, there were depressed roads, and when you drive fast on it, it bottoms out. basically. So we did that intersection. So you see the location Via Silva and Toronto. Next slide, please. This is what we did. Since we didn't grind it out, because it was the last minute fix, we just marked the area and paved it over. So in future, if it depresses again, then we have to go and do some simple. So this is like a temporary fix. Second, next slide, please. All right, this is the third location where we did it. It's like a quarter mile from Via Silva. Next slide. This is how it looked on the first picture. And picture adjacent basically is grinded out and tack coated. The guy is tack coating basically. Second, next slide, please. This is where the work is being done. We got a new pavement over it. Next slide. Okay, this is the cost basically we encountered for that whole work. Mini excavator with operator costed us $11,000. Inland paving contractor, he charged us somewhere around 31,000. So a total of 42,000 we paid. And it doesn't include our guys or my fees here. It's not there. Second, next slide, please. Okay, this is the project I think we all discussed before. Line of culverts. So this is a phase one, and we started in primary zone. So primary zone is India and Toronto. Next slide, this is the location. These are all the locations where we are doing on lining. And there are, I think, nine culverts. Actually, there are 10 culverts which were given to the contractor, but one was found like was smaller like. So we canceled that one. So 9 culverts, what is doing it? PO orders number 2401, 2402, 2403. Second slide. This is the lining detail. Second slide. All right, this is one of the locations, culvert P 110 to 112. There are 3 culverts together. In the first picture, you see how it looked before, and after cleaning up, how it looks now. It's just a clearing and rubbing work. First page of the book. Second slide. This is the outlet section. In the first one, it looked how it looked. It was just clogged up with all trees and everything. In the second one, the bottom one, you see how he's cleaning up. Next slide. He's still cleaning up the outlet. All the trees are gone. He's excavating so the water can flow through in the channel. Next slide. Some hand excavation to remove the dirt. And the next picture would be an interesting one. Next slide. Okay, this is what the guy basically, I would say, invented. A kind of a shovel, mechanical shovel, I would say, to pull all the dirt out from one end and then pull back the shovel from the other. In the first picture, what you're looking at is semi-out plate, which is attached to a channel rod, or you could say on a rod. Which is, in the second slide, you see somebody is pulling that rod and the dirt is coming out. In the third slide, the guy is going back of that shovel rod and there's a hook behind it. So he's going to put the hook. So. Next slide. See, there's a winch machine over there. So he pulls that shovel back into the pipe. And the other guy who's pulling through the excavator or mini excavator, he pulls it back. So he can drag the mud out from the pipe. And in the second picture, you see how clean it is. Next picture. This is how it looks like. Next picture is basically the other one. This is 110 to 112. And this is 105, convert number. The first picture, the outlet, see how it looks like? All covered up with dirt and everything. And after cleaning up, this is how it looks like. It's not cleaned up yet, it's just the outlet area is being cleaned up, not the top. Next slide. Okay, this is the estimate which was approved for this work under the PO. So the PO, 3 POs cost us up somewhere around 51 grand. Next slide, please. All right. This is the famous one which everyone is talking about. And everybody has concerns. This is Senior Creek. We tried to fix it last year. It worked for a couple of months. But again, somehow, it did work. So now, we have leaks on both sides. Southbound and northbound. I wish you could see it. And we tried to do something. On southbound, going towards Falkirk. You see the patch where the water was coming up? We sawed it. So the water doesn't come or oozes out from there. And comes out on the shoulder. Next slide, you'll see that. Next slide, we saw it. So water stopped over there at this location. It is coming out continuously. Today also you go and see it's coming up. But the water is also coming out further down. And on the other side also, on the northbound. Next slide, please. This is a close-up view of what we did over there. So the water doesn't ooze out from the patch. Instead of patch, it's basically flowing on the dirt side. But still, there is a lot of water over there. And few more investigations we are still working on it. And once we decide what to do, then we'll go forward and do it. All right, I'm done.
When Rancho Water opened that, they opened that street. Okay, Rancho Water opened that street.
Oh, yes.
But when it was open,
It was opened last year.
that last year,
For
it would we have been able to do something better if it had stayed open as opposed to closing it open?
the thing was that there was a very first time, nobody knew what was that.
I understand.
The water department went over there because they suspected this their water.
Right,
Since we had no clue whose water was that,
right.
and it was first time. And I was not directly working with tools at that time, I was on the other stuff. It had to do that I was crossing by, and I saw they were pumping water. And after some time, we saw plates. So we all whose plates are these? So water department said that they are working on it. And they are testing water if it was theirs or not. And later I found out when everything was passed, that that's not their water, not their leak. And somehow they backfilled it. I have no clue what they backfilled it
Right,
and what they did. And if we had known it, I think we should have gone and placed filtration process.
see, that brings up the point that I wanna make, which is that they had that open. and they weren't communicating with us.
They don't communicate either.
Well, maybe this is the time to take a look at this, particularly on this issue. And, to me, it's a problem that costs us millions of dollars. And here it recurs, okay? And this is just a problem. Somehow, we need to fix this. They need to be working with us, not on their own, doing things on their own, and then like they own everything, you know?
And I think, since we have a water problem and the soil over here percolates very nicely, what I've seen is we are using slurry as their backup. And the slurry is basically is a barrier for any flowing water. And when the water is flowing and you have groundwater high table, the water will find its way to come up and percolate to the surface because it's been blocked.
And if I could kind of elaborate, these French drain systems that we're putting in, as he's saying, it's all this groundwater pressure basically, and it's all oozing up. That's why it's oozing basically. And right now, because the groundwater table is high, we are seeing this pretty much everywhere in these hillside domains. The correct way to fix this would have been way back when they built the roads. They built a series of French drains every 25, 50 feet, whatever it may be. Obviously, we can't do that after the fact right now. So, but you are correct. When they open the road, anytime you open the road and see a problem, you probably should. The actual French drain itself is PVC pipe and rock. It's not an expensive fix. The expensive part is getting someone out there, opening up the road, directing traffic, doing all that. So we need to be better at when we are doing that, trying to coordinate with Rancho Water. And this issue of the slurry backfill is a real issue. We're seeing, at first we were thinking, it's all water. It's all Rancho water because it's coming out right at the hydrants. But now we're starting to uncover and see, well, they're putting these, usually you would just backfill with native soil, whatever's there. But they're doing, it's a stronger fix for the roadway by putting in a slurry. It is a better situation, but if you think about the groundwater flowing through a concrete surface, it's not gonna flow through. So it's good for the strength of the roadway, but now we have water coming out on either side of us. So, there might be something we can do. I believe we have like a blanket, permit with Rancho Water. We may wanna just get more coordination with that on what they're doing when they're slurrying this. Because it is a proper fix. I'm not gonna say that slurry is a bad fix, but this groundwater issue is a newer issue.
They are required to notify us, right, Jim? If they're working on the road.
No. Well, after the fact,
Mhm.
prior to the fact. Well, they get a blanket permit to work in our roads as long as they tell us what they're doing, within 10 days or something like that.
Okay.
That's the issue, like that one
Yeah,
cost a lot of money, they haven't told us.
right.
So you almost, I've heard that this has gone on for years, for my time even, that the only way you really know I was told, the only way you know what Rancho Water's doing is if you drive around and you see them out there and you stop and ask them what they're doing, they might tell you or they might not. And then supposedly the paperwork comes through, but here there was an example of where it didn't come through. So what else has to come through? Don't know.
Yeah.
So
Frequently when that happens, it's not at the best time of the day. And it's an emergency situation. There was probably half a dozen events in the Sandia Creek, El Prado area over the last year and a half.
And we wouldn't have
Always
that.
They happen about 11 o'clock at night. So
There's no reason they can't tell you the next day.
That's right.
Well, that's true, but this is what we're starting to talk about. There's a flip side to this coin, and that is you drive over to their Taj Mahal, okay? And they have staff everywhere. We don't.
That's why they don't need a rate increase.
Well, I would agree with you on that, but for us, I mean, who are we gonna send? That would know what they're talking about, because but what are we gonna do, bring you out here every time we discover? So we've gotta figure out some system.
Exactly. That was the other thing I was gonna say. We weren't in a position at that time
Right,
to really figure out what was going on.
but we need a funding source.
Right.
And I think maybe we're at the point where with what's occurred, money needs to come from them. And we do need like an engineer, you know, on call. That can meet them out there, figure out what it is they're doing in the road. And coordinate this.
Right.
And then like in this case, hey, we want a French drain before you fill that thing up. That might have occurred here. Right now, we don't even know they're there.
Right.
So, yeah, this whole system is not working to our detriment. I think it's great for them. But,
They leave the mess for us.
right, they do, yeah, and they've got the funds to make corrections, we won't. So, yeah, anyway, we're working on this, I'm just trying to figure out how we approach this. So it's on the table.
Yeah, and if I could add, a lot of this is again, it's that high groundwater table is causing all this. So the real problem is the roadway, the water's coming up, so if we can put in these French drains, but these French drain systems aren't cheap, they don't, we can't build it in every area, and the big problem is we're using these sites as I don't want to say pilot project, but really that's what they are. And you can see, Rod set up some observation wells to see where the water's coming, because that's 99% of the battle. We could put one in, but then it's gonna pop up in two different areas. So if we relieve the pressure in one area, somewhere else, water always finds a way. So we're trying to find a system that lets us diagnose where this water is, and that's really where we're going through. But the only thing that's really gonna help us is the groundwater subsiding, and they can change between 5 to 10 feet in any given year.
Right.
So it's really difficult without the full analysis of where this groundwater is.
Well, there, Matt, you might want to also think about, I know we have to flesh out the agenda for the 31st of July, but we continually have discussions about Rancho Water. The community does, and, find another entree in terms of opening up the dialogue and the communication. They need to hear from the community, not just from, the CSD. They need to hear from us, those that live up on the hill there. So just, let's just put a little tickler so we sit there. And, they
Yeah.
can speak directly.
Yeah, and you gotta remember that, I'm sure if you ask the higher up at Rancho Water, they'll say they're doing it exactly like it's helping us, but it's really the maintenance staff that's out there. So if we could come up with something, because, and even us having an engineer on call might be a bit much, because there's so many of them. We gotta come up with something that applies in all situations, like if there is something abnormal or something they can do. Like if we're seeing that these slurry all the way up is a problem, we could bring it up to the higher up and have that discussion of, well, maybe don't slurry all the way up. So that's, but we need to have, I don't wanna say ammo, but just data to back it up. So that's what we're going. That's what stage we're in.
Yeah, if I were sitting in a meeting with them.
Mhm.
I would probably be saying, we want slurry. Yes, I'm thinking about the road. But in these cases, we're finding, well, we're creating a gap. How do you know?
Right.
And, we really would need to be having this discussion. And we'd be having a whole different discussion of this water in Sandia Creek. If this were 2 years ago and we weren't addressing our pipes. So we've got all these people. And then when something comes up, I say, Raj, go check this out, okay? We don't have that capability even a year ago. So I know when we've addressed some of these, and I think it's the same location. These springs or whatever that come up. And then we, I laugh now, oh, let's get some hydrology study and then. Because we had no real ability to even figure out what the problem was. Now, it just so happens we've got that capability for another project. Okay, and now we're getting all educated. So that's the thing, we have to siphon off some maintenance money from the water district to provide us the capability of. So they're the pipe 3 feet down, but we're the road on top. They don't care about the road, they just care about their pipe. But the road is an integral part of that pipe. Yet nobody's funding it. They just come out, fix pipe, let the water CSD take care of it.
Yeah.
And we don't have any funding source, except we're getting a funding source, from our pipe project, right? But like if we finish with the pipe project, it's gone. Who am I gonna ask to go out there that understands what they're looking at? Without paying, $500 an hour in travel time and this. We can't, well, I guess maybe, but if we restructure the financial arrangement of how their pipes relate to our roads, then I'm not sure what that is. We're just getting into it, but it has to be, because this ain't what we pointed out.
Right.
I have a question, and this is for Ron.
Yeah.
When they open the road, would there be a way to just tell them, put a steel plate on it so we could drive over it until someone comes and sees it and says this is what needs to be done at this point, so they just don't open it and fill it the same day?
I mean, there probably could be a way to set up some kind of procedure with that. I will say that, steel plates are not desirable even for a day. That's actually more of a safety hazard than just covering it up, to be honest.
Okay.
Cause those take a lot of, they're actually very expensive, actually, probably more expensive than filling it in right there. But,
They did have a steel plate on this for at least a week,
Oh, yeah.
maybe longer.
Geez.
Maybe,
Different.
that's right.
Yeah,
But from what I've read, is you gotta be careful with those things, and you can use them, but you don't wanna make it your common practice. But okay, let's jump back to where I was at before. If this were the city of Temecula or something, let's say, they got engineers sitting around, okay, all day. And I'm sure we could imitate. Just go to a big city, what I was used to, Westlake, I could snap my fingers, and the engineers show up, right? But, we don't have that infrastructure here. We should really be looking at every time they cut our road, this blanket permit nonsense. I mean, it's practical from a financial side. Just go ahead and let them fix it, their engineers over there. Just let us know what you did, kind of thing. That's what this blanket permit is all about. So it saves the district from having to have that expense.
We need to renegotiate.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
it's probably another little room here with an engineer here Tuesday through Thursday or something like that. And we say to Rancho, no, you're not cutting the road till you talk to our engineer. And we get involved from the beginning. And then issues like the plate or whatever. Instead of these guys just willy-nilly going out cutting up our road, they don't cut anything. Until the guy in the back room signs off on it and drives the truck out there and watches them do it on our behalf.
Jim, the issue, I think, is less than cutting into the road than they're repairing. Because that's really the issue. I mean, if there's an emergency and there's water,
Yeah.
they gotta get in there, right?
That's no problem.
So that's not the issue. I think the real issue is, once it's open, then we need to look in there. And we need to watch what they do and see how they do that. That's really the key. So, I mean, I think the emergency thing is fine. They can have that. if
Right,
there's
that-
an
yeah.
emergency.
We don't-
But they gotta tell us within 24 hours that,
Right.
that they're working on that, and so that we can then respond and see what's going on there.
and I do wanna point out, and I don't wanna put this all on the water district, the real problem is a hydrant. And Rancho Waters having the same issue with it, so there is, there's complications with how they're repairing it, and maybe they don't have to deal with it as well, always, but, I don't wanna say the only issue with Rancho Water, I'm not trying to say that, point my finger and say, oh, well, I'm perfect, no. There's there is, the real issue at hand is we're dealing with the high groundwater table,
Right.
it's a problem nationwide. Everyone's dealing with this, how much rain, well, California, well, I can't speak. But, all throughout California, throughout Hillside communities, so.
That may be the problem with communication, they're not communicating with us.
No, there's
There's just no question about it. I don't care about the high ground water, that's the way it is, I mean, that's all there is to it. They need to communicate with us.
That's true, yes.
It's supposed
Jim,
to
I
be a team.
presume that the blanket permit that they're working under has some sort of a fee attached to it. We know.
That's another.
how that
That's
is on.
another issue to talk about at the finance committee, you won't
$200
read
a
that.
year,
No, no.
but they do pay small fees with each project that they tell us about. And we assume they're filing the paperwork, they are. But
Are those similar to
It's
the
minimal.
fees that would exist in a larger community like Maitland?
unfortunately, these larger agencies have overhead, because they're funded a lot of different ways. So the fees are very low and we're pattern calculating. And so that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out. Is I don't have any sales tax, I don't have any property tax, I don't have that gives you a whole wing of the building here, which is says engineering, and all these engineers are sitting around being paid by, sales tax or, whatever, gas tax, whatever. We don't have that overhead. So our fees should be sky high compared to all of the big agencies. But something tells me that's not gonna fly very good. When we impose those kind of fees, and then there's the issue with your firm, who advises us, well, you can't just make up a fee, make it $1,000, time, something like that, if you want it to be that, you have to justify. But so like, if I were to call you tomorrow, hey, we're setting fees, whatever, you just got some education that this is a lot more expensive in terms of our costs. We really want to do this, right? That fee's gotta be high, just based on what you've heard. So, but if I called you and you weren't at this meeting, you'd be going, oh, it's another manager calling me trying to, raise up the revenue, but we really need some sort of engineering support. And we have it in your contract, but I can't afford to call you out. Because at $200 a year or a $135 inspection fee or something like that, it doesn't even get them another garage. So, and then.
Always known as pretty expensive.
So anyway, yeah, I think probably in the next months ahead, which is springing off this budget and then these issues, we've got to, and then what's happened in the last, year and insurance and all that stuff. It's almost like we've kind of got to restructure a lot of things. And it's gonna take some time and effort, because just some of the ideas that are being thrown around here, you're right. We need to go down that path and see, where to go. And I think if we could, I don't deal with Rancho Water very much, day to day, whatever, but the times I've worked with at least the staff people, they're pretty reasonable. So I suspect, just looking at the resumes, that if we could lay out the problem, we might, I think they would probably at least meet us halfway, because everything we're talking about is the truth.
Yeah.
So.
Of course, they can raise rates.
Yeah, well.
Well, the funny thing, we can't,
Oh, no, we can't, they can't.
they can't, that's why we can't raise the tax. I mean, to do that would be almost impossible, but they can raise rates.
Right.
They don't have to go and have the voters vote on it and get a 2/3 majority.
And
They just have to go tell some bureaucrats that they need money.
That's
Right.
right.
But it's those rates, are technically based on their costs. They can't be, building another dog.
They hire another 100 people, I mean, they can raise their costs infinitely.
Yeah, but our cost is missing
I agree.
because they're going from the top, our road down, and they're coming out and ending in our road. Who's funding that? They would easily,
They filling when they, sorry to jump in, are they, so they cut through the road, they fix the pipe, they didn't fill? Okay, so without, I see the problem.
it's possible we can see a patch in the road and say, what the heck? is that?"
Yeah.
And that happens.
Okay.
And so, and like in this case, they went down, somebody complained, oh, it's gotta be your water, it's perfectly enough. And so they did the right thing, they cut it to the road, they went down. They did whatever they do to determine, you know, if the line's leaking, and they determined it was not. And then they filled it back up and paved it. Had we known that this was going on, and it was open for like a month or something like that with a plate on it. We perhaps, well, because then the question would have been, with it open. Well, if it's not coming from you, where's it coming from? And that should have gone to the road engineer to say, well, we need French drains in there, don't close it until we get that done.
Yes.
And so it would have been more efficient to the taxpayer, because somebody, the taxpayer is gonna pay for this and is right now. But it might have been, it might be better if this were paid for by the water district, who can just add that to the cost of their repair. Because we don't have a funding source, they do. And it's the, I don't know, we're getting into loss, the taxpayer gets the bill. That's gotta be addressed, so, because that's what they're gonna come back with, is, we're sorry about Prop 218, guys.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we can't be gouging, you know, they'll say, can we, you just want to gouge our ratepayer, okay? No, but that will be their position. And we're sorry about year 218, taking it to the legislature, but we're only interested in providing options. So this is a big, we got a lot of work ahead of us, I think.
Wait a minute, how long is your contract?
Yeah.
The big thing I'm saying is, like, if it was a routine maintenance issue, like, you know, that we may not have to be involved all the time. But the fact that there's a complaint and they're pumping water out for days, that maybe that should trigger a different procedure than just filling the road path. So there must be something that we can do to, if it is an actual, like, if it's an abnormal situation, that's not a routine maintenance, they should be contacted.
That I think we can fix in 30 days.
Mhm.
The issue is gonna be, who's gonna go look in that hole? You need to go look and say, yeah, there's water in there. It's the funny
That's the
part.
issue from our perspective.
Yes,
Right.
you give me an engineer in the back room Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever.
Yeah.
That can run out there, follow these guys around, get to know them, work with them. Look out for our interests.
Mhm.
That's what we really need.
Right.
And that would solve the whole, that solved 90% of the problem. If we just had somebody on our side looking out for our road, and our road right away, and following those guys' orders. And then he would say, we need a French train, or we need that. And right at that given time, we could say, we want this before you fill it up. And it's fixed.
I think we need to realize also that this is a bit of a unique situation, that is, most of the work that they do, even though we haven't been out to inspect it, has turned out to be good work.
It is. And yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's kind of been the way I was educated when I came here. Look, they're all engineers, they got money up the gazoo, they only, you know, do the best, blah, blah, blah. And that's been my experience with water districts, you know, in my career. They got money, so they have everything, you know, all the good stuff. So yeah, there probably aren't a lot of things that we wouldn't have done different.
And I have to confess, being an engineer, we don't always agree. And then you get into the,
Right.
well, you should have done this, no, anyway. But, this is a unique situation, and it's coming from the groundwater. The one thing that we have to think, pay attention to here, is that we don't let San Diego Creek end up in the condition that Toronto Road was in. That went on for years, because it didn't have a lot of traffic. It didn't get the focus until our guys recently have been working on taking care of those old problems. And now it's in considerably better shape, many times better than it had been. And it was a very dangerous road, with all of the potholes. You had to work your way around, cross over the center line and whatnot. We can't let San Diego Creek get like that, so we've got to find a path to make that work now.
I guess we gotta work it out for it.
Okay. Well, Raj.
Still working on it, and I shared it.
Thank you. That's-
Won't be against the council,
Well done.
it won't be.
Falls in what I'll discuss later on the engineering committee report.
Good, good.
Well done, gentlemen. Thank you very much.
And that
It's
is
been a
good.
lot of work.
The project, what I think is almost kind of like a phone. Oh, leaking water is,
Yeah, it's looking very good.
Yeah.
And
there's nothing that,
Okay, very good.
glad that experience.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, let's see. Agenda L, road maintenance field crew report. Jim, do you want to first
Yeah.
start off real quick, just a moment?
We have Nick giving the report tonight. But I'd like to also introduce a new member of our crew. His name is Dane Carroll. He's he lives in Canyon Lake, so he's local for our nighttime call outs. But he brings, he's quite young here. He's got a lot of experience, been working for 10 years or so in progressively responsible construction related jobs. He's done most recently in his career, he's down in San Diego, working for a firm that did a lot of public works construction. So he's familiar with pipes and asphalt and those kinds of things. But what impressed me the most in the interview is not only has he been working full-time and gradually moving up, his position titles become higher, greater and greater, but he's basically a heavy equipment operator at this point in time. But he's also been going to night school and has gotten himself certified as a journeyman laborer first, and then he went back and got certified as a journeyman heavy equipment operator. And that involved 2-3 nights a week for many years and weekends and this and that. So he obviously demonstrated that he knows what hard work's all and willing to go the extra mile. So he's been with us about a month and a half, and doing very well. And he knows how to run that skid steer we buy. And we can also rent excavators and things like that because he's master at that. So he's just got a lot of knowledge that he's obtained over his 10 years of service. So, and he lives in Canyon Lake, as I mentioned. He's a wife and a baby, and he's so happy that he doesn't make that commute to San Diego anymore.
Okay.
So welcome, and
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much.
so Mr. Nick, you want to give the report this time?
Yeah, I'll do it. Sounds good. Do it from here on out, it's fine. But yeah, just real quick, we're really, I'm really grateful to have him. He's the real deal. He knows what he's doing. So we're very lucky to have him.
Yeah.
Just update you guys what we've been doing. Obviously you guys have seen the weeds. They're pretty bad. So I mean, we're working on it. We just, our sprayer didn't work when he got here. So, and then my chipper didn't work. So then we kind of had to find mechanics that can maintenance these things and fix these things, but we've got everything fixed now. We're ready to go. We've been mowing. So obviously you see in the left picture how bad it looks. I mean, the right, you obviously mowing them all down first, and then we're gonna go back and spray everything so they stay nice and low, and people can stay in their own lane, and I'll just swerve into another lane, but yeah, so we're working on it. Next slide. And as you can see, we're mowing. This is over on Villa Los Ventos, off of Vista Del Mar on the bottom of Toronto. And resident complained, so we got out there as soon as we can. And which was awesome because while we were out there, there's only 3 or 4 houses over there, but 3 of the 4 people came up to us and told us about how much an amazing job we're doing and gave us a thumbs up. So it was really nice to get a good reaction from the residents. So that was a really good feeling. Next slide. So yeah, this is what it looks like. When we're spraying, we put the sprayer on top of this trailer that we had to sing in the yard. So we're mobile, we're just moving, just spraying everything down. Like I said, mowing it down, spraying them so they don't grow back. Next slide.
What are you using to spray?
It's what's the name of it? It's a pesticide and weed killer.
Basically, Roundup-ish.
Roundup-ish, yeah, it's a different brand, but it's got the specs on it on what you're supposed to, dilute it with, like, we don't wanna kill anybody, like, pretty flowers or anybody's groves or anything, so. We're following it to like the lowest setting possible that you can, and then it's been, I mean, we went back and drove this happened like 2 weeks ago, when we finished this. We went back and drove it, and it still looks like, just like how we left it, so I know it takes time, but I mean, I've seen weeds grow back faster than the first week, so. I mean, this has been awesome. It's a nice system we have down, so. While we're over there, we can't even see the white line, and so we decided we'll clean this up too while we're here. I mean, we're already out there with the equipment and everything, we'll just clean up the whole entire road. So yeah, we exposed the white line so people can see it. It's a lot safer for, travel. And then, we were actually out doing the traffic control for the guys that came into the saw cutting for that leaky spot on Sandia Creek, and then Cody and Roz drove by us. They told us, let us know there's a tree down, and before he was able to call it in, we got out there, got out of the road, and yeah, freed up the lane to travel. It's fine. Still, as in while we're doing the mowing and everything, we're still maintaining culverts, we're still cleaning them out, making sure the water can flow through them so it doesn't start to go in the various ways you've seen all the water like to go. So we're making sure they're all nice and clean so the water can just flow through and no issues. So another thing is when Dane first started here, is one thing we've noticed is that, there's a lot of junk in our yard that, we never had time to clean out, and we're just like, start from the ground up, let's clean everything out. We started with Arconic. On the left is what it used to look like. It's all cluttered, there's a bunch of junk. I mean, you can see the shelves, like there's just stuff thrown in there. And the picture on the right after we got done with it, everything's all organized on the shelves, everything looks nice and neat, so. Anything happens, we're ready to go, everything's at, so, excited. Also, left pictures what the yard used to look like, overgrown modes, looks pretty trashy. On the right, cleaned everything up, yard's nice and pretty now, so. Like I said, we're ready to go, it makes our job a lot easier, we're a lot more organized now, so it's awesome. Another thing is, so for our sprayer, we gotta get water in it somehow, so we don't have a water line that's in our yard, so. Dane came up with the idea, well, we have a bunch of running water, it's pretty clean water, we just found out that we got fish in our water now, in some areas, so. So he came up with the idea that I never thought of before, why don't we just build a road down to our stream that surrounds our yard? And I just looked down and was like, well, I never even thought about that, it's a great idea, let's do it, feel confident doing it, let's do it. So we did it, we built a road, now we have access to water at all times, so, next slide. That's what the process of it looked like it. So the picture on the left is like as if you're looking down the road we built, and you see the picture on the right to the bottom left. That's our water stream now. So we have a pump that we just put in there, and it pumps water out of it into our sprayer. So then now, so we can get water anywhere. So anywhere where we have water running through streams or whatever, and it's really far from our yard, we can fill it up wherever we're at, as long as there's running water there. So worked out pretty good, and that is my presentation. That's what we've been up to. So yeah, so the mowing, we're getting to it. Like I was telling the engineering meeting, we're coming to a road near you here pretty soon. Like I said, we're limited on which of the roads we can do because, there is only 2 of us. We can't be watching the road and mowing. I don't want to look unprofessional out there. So the busier, the less busy roads are getting done first. That's just how it's going to be for right now. And then we'll move on to the bigger roads. We have a better plan for that. But, so
Maybe flaggers, so we'll be bringing flaggers in.
yeah, flaggers, yeah. Question, comments, concerns?
No, thank you.
Okay, well done, gentlemen. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
and welcome again.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along, agenda item M, committee reports. Engineering committee.
Just a brief one, you've seen most of, what we discussed in the committee meeting the other day. But the one thing that came out of it, we've of course budgeted for the, culvert repairs. And, we're kind of in an unknown, on the Sandia Creek, water issue. So the guys are doing some experiments, kind of get that compartmentalized into a project, of some size, hopefully of small size. It's gonna take a little bit of money to do that. What was the estimate, Raj? About 12,
15 grand.
15?
And basically now, since we will be hiring flaggers, that's not 10 grand.
But it's possible that we're going to have to reallocate some of the money that would have gone into culverts into that. And that Sandia Creek is really the main artery of our area. We can't let it degrade the way that some of the others have. But Toronto has been rehabilitated and it looks good. It's functioning well. That was a years old issue. And it's proven the ability of the process right now to upgrade our roads. The best way to do that is not let them get in that condition in the first place. So that's where we are, Sandia Creek right now. So we may have to come back and suggest that we move some money in the budget from the culvert project into what will be really maintenance, but hopefully it doesn't end up as large as the Toronto project was.
What's the other issue, Chuck, is that we may have more emergencies.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think we need to be pretty flexible about allocating to that project, because there may be things that come along that
Right.
need to be taken care of more immediately.
Yeah.
So it is an issue, and I mean, you know, we definitely have limited resources. And so sometimes these emergencies just take priority.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, we can't be so far down a project. I mean, it's gonna take a lot of thinking about this, because if you can get so far down a project, you have to complete it,
Right. Oh, yes.
you know, and then commit the dollars to it. And then you have an emergency here and we don't have the dollars, that could be a real issue for us. I gave one report on the finance committee.
Okay. And, really, anything else for you?
Not really. I mean, I think, Teresa talked about the things that we discussed, so including the, T-bonds and bills and the budget. We asked you to take a look at it. There's only component of that I thought was interesting is if you look down that one column that shows you the percentage over or under. And one area was legal, which was over, but that's actually been split out into the commitment to both the tax bill as well as the other bill. So although the projection didn't include that, and that's why that's so far over. So I think that's really the one that kind of stood out as an increase over what was budgeted. That was really about it. And I think as I mentioned earlier, we'll bring back to you the resolution for the $100,000, which I think is important for us to consider.
In the event that the senator is able to streamline the process and we don't have to go through legislation, is that going to impact that, do you think?
Impact what?
The legal,
The legal, I don't know what, I think we tried to put an estimate in there that is relatively conservative.
Okay.
But may include the consultant that's working for us.
Okay.
Hopefully we won't have to go any much higher than that. I think actually, my opinion is we probably won't get legislation.
Yeah.
Because the agency is opposed to it. And when the agency is opposed to it and there are dollars involved, that becomes a real issue for the legislature to essentially pass that bill. And so I think our better effort, and I think this is what he's working on right now, is working with the county and the supervisor. That's my,
All right.
unless you had something else to add. Sorry.
Okay. And then obviously the legislative committee report, you've heard the latest and the greatest from Cyrus, which which also included, the, community, gathering on July the 31st, with the senator, as our number one individual. We'll be focusing on, along with others, as information comes in, obviously, we'll continue to report it out to everyone. Mr. Henry, General Manager.
Okay, well, I have a few items here. One is, every year in this meeting, I report what the increase in the CRNR rate is going to be next year, starting in July. And I now have letter from CRNR that pursuant to CPI, it will be 3.36%. So just an information item is in their franchise, and the franchise requires them to tell us what the rate is. So that's that for this coming year.
Okay.
Ron, you have your associate here. Can you introduce him?
Yeah, so I just wanted to introduce everyone. I may have heard in the beginning, this has been my deputy basically while we've been doing this. He's worked under me. He's actually done, he started, I think the first one he worked on was the team of 23 and 34. He has a lot of late nights basically putting that project together. He also worked on Sandy Creek, Via Vaquero. We all learned under Dave basically with that, so he's been helping me out a lot with that. But he's done a great job with that, and basically I just wanted to kind of let the team know that I am going to be, I'm still going to be here 100%, like around, but I have some personal matters I need to take care of that are going to take me away for about 6 months of, I'm going to still do everything remote. Still going to be, there's really going to be no interruption in anything, but it's going to be, I have to travel with some family matters. Everything's okay. I don't want to cause any alarm, so it's there's nothing bad going on. I do have I'm going to be traveling for my family. They're out in Florida. I'm going to travel there, and I have some also travel plans to go from there. So during that time, I'm going to have Matt present in person. I'll give him a chance in a second after I get this out. But basically, I want you to know he's been working on everything. He's been briefed on all that's going on right now, and basically, it's nothing new. And I will still be here. Just leave more of like Cyrus, the floating head for a little bit, and then come back in the beginning of the year with everything. But I'm pacing back to about 12 to 20 hours. That's what I say, but I know me, I'll end up working 30, 40 again. But we'll see. But no, I just want to let you know Matt's going to be kind of the in person, but I'll be 100% available, and there'll be no change. It's basically, anytime Jim yells at me about something, the first thing I do is I yell it down to Matt. So he's used to this. So I think we're good here. But
I think with Matt over the years on all these different projects.
So Matt will be attending the committee meeting.
Correct. Yes. So he'll be the in person, and again I'll be there. But and then as it goes along, will be any feedback. But Matt, I guess I'll let you give a brief little intro, I guess. Hello.
I've been with Wildan since I was an intern. I started my senior year of college at Cal Poly. I'm from the area. I was born and raised in Oaklands, so grew up on the Orange Grove. So I love this kind of stuff. So I'm interested to get started. I like Ron said, I've been on all these projects. So I mean, even the last one I was doing the site visits out here with the crew before. So yeah.
Definitely funny seeing him and Raj right there. Because I remember them both going back and forth on details of the construction of the head walls out in Buena Vista. So it all comes full circle.
And Matt, what's your last name, Jim?
Craig.
CR item.
He's also a PG.
Yeah, we see him on the buildings quite frequently.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
You put the heart out.
Okay, thank you very much for helping out. Lynette.
Okay, so are you?
I think that, yeah, as long as
Yeah.
and I'll be
You're still gonna be, the way you've told me is you're still gonna be on the screen and.
yeah, and it's an interim, just during it. So
Okay. All right.
We'll be looking for that talking head.
there we go.
This ESRI conference that I've been going to, well, I guess I should jump back. All of our GPS is complete. So all of our equipment is now GPS, and all of the data, the latest is our drains. our, what do we call it? The GPS system.
Yes.
GIS system, it is all up to speed. So, the Esri conference in San Diego, which I've gone to for the last 2 years with Willdan's Rex Miller. Rex is retiring in the next couple of years. And he's the one who built our system. So, you know, I'm not getting any younger. I'm sure I'm gonna be here for the next 20 years, but somebody's gotta keep this system running. So I'm gonna take Jessica to this conference, and then I've talked to Rex's boss at Willdan, and he basically trained me, but not to the detail. So he's gonna actually train Jessica at this conference. And, that way, if something, you know, Rex and I disappear, this thing will keep running. So, that's the arrangement we have. So he's actually, instead of going and doing what he does, you know, these crazy seminars he goes to, he's gonna go to the lower level with her and start building her knowledge base. So that, because he designed the whole system, so whenever anything comes up, you call Rex, boom, it's fixed, done. But we may not have the resource, you know, for a long time, so I think it would be better if somebody in-house raised their knowledge up to be able to keep it running. So, the board meeting is during that time, so I'll be at the board meeting, so Jessica will stay at the conference and all back and forth. So,
Wow, we're gonna have to come up with a new title for her.
yeah, well, she
That's called
the IT, she just
Yeah.
IT, so
I mean,
it kind of fits, right?
all of
right
our
together.
Zoom, all of our.
Yeah. So anyway, and I told her, well, you better get this up and running, you have one more meeting, because in July, Jessica won't be here. So. Anyway. So, that's just an informational item. I'm going to the CSD General Managers Conference as they do every June, and I won't miss any meetings or anything. And it's in the lovely town of Anaheim.
Oh, wonderful,
I guess I can have some lunches and dinners with my dad.
There you go. Well, you can always visit Nikki and Nikki, you know.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I've seen those ticket prices.
Yeah,
I
I
haven't
know.
been in 30 years.
Crazy, go to the Walden corporate office too.
Oh, there you go. I have done that.
Yep.
4 years ago, this meeting was there,
Mhm.
and you and Dave took me to lunch. Teresa drove in, and you gave us a tour of the Willdan.
T. Smith, yes. it was a-
Boy, that was still getting over it. That was so fantastic. And to see it all early.
Proud to say. Proud to say.
One thing also, speaking of conferences, CSDA is back in Indian Wells again. Anyway, I don't know if you remember you got COVID.
Yes, I
Yes, you
did.
did.
CSDA gave you COVID.
No.
Anyway, that's in September.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll be hitting you up later if anybody wishes to go. I know it's a little warm up there. I can bring my new kit. Street. Anyway, so, and, that is my.
Thank you very much, Jim. Last but not least, we have our legal counsel matters.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so guys so much for having me, filling in for Ward. One thing before I start on my report, my dad actually works for Esri in training. So if you ever have a question, yeah, 20 years, yeah. So if you ever have a question, you know, a very niche, it's, you know, I love my dad, but he has a skill set that's very niche in the working world. And this is the one time maybe he's like, oh, he's uniquely qualified to help. Yeah. So if you ever call me,
Great.
I'll patch him in and he would love that. He would be like, gosh, yeah, you gotta get.
Yeah, for conference.
You will, yeah, in July, yeah. Oh,
So we may look
guys up.
introduce him.
Yeah, no, he's, but that's why I'm from Redlands, we moved to Redlands, so my dad could work in his region. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, fun fact.
There you go.
Yeah, but yeah, full circle, yeah, but uniquely, my dad literally works, he trains folks just like this Jessica. So,
There we go. Look at them.
anyway, so Ward had asked me to update you guys on a couple of things. The first is a winery application, application that is still closed. So I believe there were some problems with it. The applicant was notified, they withdrew the application. There, as of this afternoon, there are no changes there. It's still closed. He also told me to look into this initiative. Joe, we talked to you about this. That's gonna be, it's presently on the ballot in November. That would, yeah, it's the California Business Roundtable Initiative that would fundamentally restructure a lot of how our public revenue is generated in the state. What there is, so I can explain generally what it is if you'd like, but I'm sure that most of you already know. The update is that we are expecting it, they heard oral argument on May 8th, so 2 weeks ago or so, and we expect a decision before June 27th. That's the whole reason that the state filed this, this lawsuit was to get it off the ballot before that day. What is it? It's someday in late June, at which point it would be too late. So we expect a decision before that time. I'm certainly willing to go into the details of what it actually is. But in terms of an update that Ward has been shared, that's it. So oral argument was heard on May 8th. We expect a decision.
That's the 2/3 vote for all taxes.
Yes, and plus, and it changes a lot. It changes
That's right.
rates, fee, it basically, in broad strokes, it means that every district and city and county and state gets less money. To do.
What else is
Yeah,
that?
at a time when, when costs are going up. Yeah, so,
So if this doesn't get onto the ballot, then their court rulings, I believe, that in our case, we're interested in the majority versus 2/3 vote to
Yeah.
raise our fee.
right,
In our case, then, the court rulings would then stand.
For this
Being
election.
a workable law
Yeah.
for the time being.
yeah, I'm sure they would get appealed. It's so, I mean, because these things, from what I've learned, it's really interesting stuff. So we have a whole rates team that can talk about this much smarter than me, but from what I learned from them, this group and their allies have been pushing this for years. So and this is the closest they've gotten, because they actually got it on the ballot for November. If they lose now, it's likely that it'll mutate and come back in some other form. They'll take the court's ruling, adapt to whatever they did to try to get it around.
But not for November.
But not.
Not for this year.
And I think that you would certainly, to get this close and then, to have the full force,
Right.
of Cal Cities, of obviously the state, Gavin Newsom, everybody kind of coming together, coalescing and telling the court, say, you gotta strike this down. Yeah, it would be, I think, a big blow to the movement. Doesn't mean that it would die completely. Okay. So, whether it's Ward or myself, next month, we'll update you if things kind of come to fruition with that. But the court certainly got its hands full. I think there have been dozens of amicus briefs filed and lots of argument made. A lot of voices in the room, so they'll have their work cut out for them, but that's what they do.
Okay. Any other business?
I want to add. I'm just bringing this up for the future. I'm sure everyone has seen all the development on the lower part, and I thought maybe it'd be nice to know how many houses, what roads they're gonna be going in. Volunteer development, and how we could find that out. If we need to go to the city or just kind of find out the lower part of the Temecula Hills here.
When that came up, I saw the plans. Nothing connects to Duluth. So it's all within the city boundaries of Temecula. So we've never had any involvement with that. So I know, like, I got all my and I made calls and things to the planning department,
Mhm.
and they're very helpful with what, I don't even remember what. And I know that development was downsized quite a bit from, what I looked at. And I just read that in the paper. So,
I just wanted to know what roads they're using to get to it, if they were,
they're not going through ours.
okay, that's what I wanted to know.
There is that one dirt road
I
that you've
know.
driven on.
Yeah.
That, I mean, in theory, the kids use it.
Yeah.
Yes. That's always been there, for a long time. I don't think that's affected at all,
Okay,
but it's certainly not hooked up.
okay, good.
That I can tell you,
Yeah.
because that was Mary Ann Byers was president at the time, was kind of bird dogging it, the
Mhm.
project. And I remember that being one of the issues. They don't try to connect
Right.
and come in. on
Come in,
that.
yeah.
So,
They do connect to Rancho California.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
So
that was the big issue of
Yeah.
the traffic.
That is right.
I don't know where they're gonna put this traffic.
That's the other point.
Looking at, on Jefferson too.
There's
some parties.
I know.
Well,
Really terrible.
I used to do land planning, and when I drive around, particularly going into these cities in the valley, it's disgusting. The other's not too bad, the one we're in right now, pretty good.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah, it's, not good, it all comes out traffic.
Yeah.
It's all spent there.
Yeah. Okay, being no other board business, thank you, everybody. This meeting is adjourned.
Well, you're so kind. Actually,